Welcome back to the basement barn. We are processing cucumber seeds today. We have a cucumber here which might not look like the one you're familiar with eating. And the thing about cucumbers is when you harvest, when the seeds are ready and the seeds are ripe and viable, it's usually way past when most people would be excited about eating them. So that's why it kind of looks this color, it's this size, this shape. But it's another type of seed where it'll be kind of a longer process since we would like to ferment the coating off of the seed much like a tomato. So today we're going to squeeze seeds out of here and then we'll come back and rinse them once the seeds have fermented. Now it's rare, but it is possible to slice a cucumber seed and many cucurbits. I don't know if you've ever cut into a pumpkin or a winter squash or butternut squash, but sometimes you will slice right through the seeds. So I usually only make a little slice and then tear it apart the rest of the way. But on the inside you'll see this looks pretty good. The seeds that I can see look plump, which is a good sign. You don't want a flat kind of papery looking seed. So now to the fun part where we get to squeeze these out. It reminds me of popping bubble wrap a little bit, because you'll press on this cavity and the seeds just kind of fly out and you're left with a nice cucumber husk. Yeah, got most of them out. I don't know if you can see this one. That's that it's like sitting in a little jelly balloon. We don't want the jelly balloon. We would like a clean seed. So I'm just gonna let this sit for 1 to 2 days and let our microbial friends digest away, or at least loosen up this coating so that when I come back and rinse these off, I'll just hopefully go a little quicker. These seeds have been fermenting for 2 days now. It's been a little cooler this week than usual, so a lot of times this only takes me overnight to get them to a fermentation spot I want to get to, but there's a little bit of mold on the top of here. When you reach in here, it's gonna feel really slimy, but what you're trying to look for is, like we saw earlier, those little jelly coatings. They should kind of squeeze off and you should be able to see them floating around, and they should come off fairly easily. If they're not coming off easily, just let them sit for a little bit longer. You can see those membranes floating up at the top. That's good. That means they're kind of coming off. Sometimes if you grab them too early in the fermentation process, they'll still be a little stuck in there, and then you'll just have to use more agitation at this phase. So I would use a higher pressure spray nozzle as I fill this bucket up, just to knock the seeds around and get those coats off. But this is looking good. So we've got fermented seeds. Just like tomatoes, we're filling this bucket up with water to float away seeds that are not viable, float away any debris that we do not want in with our seeds, and we're going to keep decanting off the upper half of this bucket and discarding that while keeping the seeds that are sinking throughout this process. And we will rinse the seeds that are left over, those seeds that are dense enough to sink to the bottom of this bucket. We'll rinse them, make sure we're rinsing off excess sugars, starches, whatever the plant has been holding on to. We just want to rinse all that off, get them nice and clean before getting them dried. There we go. That's the stuff we want to get out of here. There's still like a few of these like membranes in here. For the most part, it looks pretty good to me to switch over to rinsing. I'm gonna start rinsing using high enough pressure and the right sized sieve to blast away everything but the seeds. Just want to clean away starches, sugars, everything but the seeds. We don't see any of those membranes left. There's none like kind of hiding down here, at least very few. Some folks recommend tasting the seed to make sure it tastes like nothing on the outside. That is an option if you're curious. You can see this little bit at the end of the seed that is where it connected to the fruit. As we dry these seeds, those will dry into like sharp little needles. So be very careful once they're dry. I like the way the seeds look, they're nice and plump. Rinse a little bit more. Plump seed, smooth outside, not slimy anymore. Very exciting. So we've dropped all of these seeds onto this screen. The next step after we clean up the outside of the seeds is we want to make sure that we can dry these down as quickly as possible. The faster you can dry your seed, the better in most cases. So spearing the seeds out into as thin a layer as possible will just help them dry more quickly. Getting them on a screen, making sure that air can get underneath the seeds as opposed to maybe like a cookie sheet. So we're gonna increase the airflow by putting them on screens. I'm gonna put another one on top of here just in case a curious mouse comes through here later. That will keep them out. And then we'll get some fans on here and check back in on them tomorrow. Stir them up. Once again, stirring them up after they've dried for a day or so, just to make sure that we're breaking up any clumps, because the clumps might be able to hold moisture between the seeds, and as an end product, it's just nicer to have non-clumpy seeds. Like some of these seeds you can see are like flat and like look empty. They'll be blown away in our air column separators, but something like this looks a little more promising to me.